Welcome to Chicago, Illinois, for actually what has been a terrific AAID meeting here. And I'm with really one of the pioneers, one of the founding fathers, if you say, in American implant dentistry, and now really globally, a person who's brought implant dentistry to all dentists, Dr. Jerry Niznick, and I'm glad to have you here, Jerry.
Nice to be here with you, Maurice.
Dr. Niznick really, early in his career, was one of the ones who saw that implant dentistry was going to become part and parcel of everyday dentistry, routine dentistry, and a procedure that the general dentist would perform, and was one of those that brought the implants to the general market early on. Could you give us at least a sort of a little bit of the history of how this all occurred?
Yes. I practice the specialty of prosthodontics, which means replacing teeth. And most of my patients were edentulous or had to wear partial dentures. So very early on, 1971, I started to get involved with dental implants, and all through the 1971, and all through the 70s, I was trying the various implants that were available. Some worked, some didn't. And by the end of the 70s, I was very disillusioned with the predictability, and I had an idea to just place 2 implants in the symphysis to stabilize a denture. And I said to myself, if I can just do that, I've helped a lot of patients, and that I'll limit it to that. And in the process, I actually discovered that if I did the surgical procedure a certain way, these little screw implants that were standing freestanding became what we call in dentistry ankylosed. Later that became called osseointegration, but at that time it was ankylosis.
What years were that?
That was 1979.
Okay.
And then by 1982, I had designed a more sophisticated version of that implant called the Corvent, and really I think the contribution that I brought was versatile prosthetics and simplified surgery, and also an economical implant. But this implant was very basic. It had a hole in the top, and you could cement a variety of different abutments into it. Shortly after the launch of that product, the Brånemark phenomena started, the results of Sweden came out, and osseointegrated implants gained in professional credibility. And all through the 80s, I was really the counterpart of the European implants that didn't bring prosthetic versatility to the field. By 1990, I had the leading selling implant in the world.
One of the reasons that you were doing so well in the late 80s was because Noble was only selling to surgeons and to prosthodontists. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Didn't that give you a leg up on going to the general market?
Absolutely. And then they would only sell to oral surgeons at university-based training courses that were 5 times what anybody had ever paid for a course in the past. So I started giving live surgical demonstrations in my office. Your partner came out to that course.
David Garber.
David Garber.
I took my first course with you at a hospital in Long Island, New York in 1987. I saw you lecture. You did a lot of courses for us, didn't you?
Yes, I did a lot of training. Then I set up a cadre of surgeons and restorative dentists that were running training centers, and then I went international with 30 distributors. So I think I contributed to bringing implant dentistry into conventional dentistry. In 1986, I think, was a changing point in implant design for me. I came up with what's called the internal connection, and that has really been the cornerstone of modern implant design. Everybody's got it. I licensed 10 companies.
And now we are upon you re-entering the marketplace.
I was able to step back into my factory, hire 80 of my former employees, and prepare to compete for 2.5 years. And just last week we received FDA approval and have launched the sale of our new product line.
Congratulations. I know you just sold your first batch of implants, and that's pretty exciting.
Yes.
It also shows a tremendous amount of effort on your side that you were so prepared by the time your non-compete was up. I mean, you were well on your line with a new line of implants.
Yes.
And if you can give me just and the audiences out there wants to know, what exactly were you looking to achieve with these new implant designs, and sort of do it in a summary where people can kind of understand. I know they can go to your site directly and you can mention it here, but just to give them an idea of what you were looking to achieve, because this is a really new series of products that we're talking about.
This was just the time to launch this concept. It's really an internet-only, credit card-only business model. Because the internet is here and the world is flat and you can do it today, and the major companies spend 50% of their expenses. In other words, they make 30% on profit, and what's left, 50% goes for sales and marketing. I wanted to eliminate that and pass on the savings to dentists. Most companies sell an implant, and that sort of locks you in to buy their abutment and this and that, all the other components that add up and also add confusion. You need salespeople to explain the parts. My concept here was to develop an application-specific implant system where we have 5 basic implants, all targeted for a different clinical application in the mouth. Whether it be a single tooth in the front, there'd be an implant for that. If it's a bar overdenture, there's a different implant. Lower freestanding, a different one. And each of these implants comes packaged, all in one packaging, with everything you need to do that case.
And because of the fact the marketing costs have been taken out, there's no sales force, there's no market, not as much marketing costs, you're able to pass that savings on to the consumer.
Companies will push an implant to a surgeon, and then the restorative dentists end up paying through the nose for all the various components if they can figure out which one to use. So since I didn't have any customer base to protect,
correct,
you know, I've got a locked-in base, I'll sell them I didn't have that. I said, you know, I'm just going to put everything in that package, and then it doesn't cost me that much more to give an abutment because I designed multifunctional components that serve both to insert the implant and the abutment, or the one-piece implants. Cost no more to make a one-piece implant as a two-piece, but a one-piece you don't need to buy an abutment. Now, several companies have come up with one-piece implants, but in order not to cannibalize their implant system, they have to add the cost of the abutment onto it. So basically, I wanted to develop a user-friendly, simple system that could be sold through the internet, that to experienced people, I'm not targeting inexperienced dentists, and that had everything that they need to do that case. And there's even extra components. They may not need that part, they throw it away. You can order by the shopping cart, you can order by the interactive catalog, or you can order by charting the case. So let's let's just watch the tutorial here. This is showing the online tutorial. You click on shopping cart, then you have to create a file for yourself. You put in your email address, type it again, put in a password, type it again, your name, and you are now into the online ordering system. Click implants, select whatever implant you want, in this case a screw plant, select the diameter and surface you want, select the length of the implant you want, and determine how many you want. It shows what other components go with that particular implant, and you can add that to the shopping cart.
Is everything sold as a package as one fee? You get the implant, the abutment, the collar,
the transfer, the comfort cap, it's all there, one price, basically $150 an implant, and if you pick the right implant, now there may be a situation where you can't use that abutment. You may need a gold abutment, you may need an angled abutment, and there I priced my abutments at about half the price also.
It'll be a la carte. You can still buy a la carte.
And the advantage I had was I started back in the facilities that I had built. I bought all new equipment. I had 2 years to fine-tune the processes because I wasn't under the pressure of selling a product. I had an experienced crew that had been with me before, that had been with Zimmer. So we developed lights out 24/7 manufacturing. And the way that works, and it also contributes to high quality. We can get precision I could never get before. And what happens when you're manufacturing an implant is, and it's not unlike dentistry, it's how long is that drill going to be able to cut that titanium before you have to change that tool. And if you can do 25 implants, you've got to be standing there at the first, second, and third implant measuring that tool. That slows it down. We developed the process to do 200 implants without changing a cutting tool. And that's done by all of our cutting tools having holes right through it, just like internal irrigation.
Prevent them.
We add high-pressure oil lines onto it, and then we add oscilloscope monitoring devices that measure electrical impulse and vibration to the machine, so we can walk away from that machine, and when that burr starts to chatter a little bit and the oscilloscope goes beyond its limits, shuts the machine down.
So you're never going to have an implant that isn't perfect.
That's right, and we go home at 10 o'clock at night and come back the next morning, there's 100 parts in front of every machine. What differentiates me from a company that is selling at low prices? There are other companies that sell low prices, and they've never been a major concern to the big companies. Because a company selling at a low price can only afford to usually make one implant. They can only afford to clone something that's out there, because if they're too innovative, they need a sales force in order to explain it.
Right.
What I did is I made systems. I took the best of what I had done before, the best of whatever else everybody else had done, even some of the stuff that isn't the best but is popular,
Right.
and I incorporated it into it. Like,
Can I actually make some of the things that I thought I saw in your system? I thought you had the thread designs that you've always had historically with your Zimmer product, your tapered
Yes.
screw vent. You added micro grooves to the top of the collar, where it was very similar to what we see in Astra. Your internal connections are either the old Zimmer internal connection, and you also have the trilobe from Noble. You also have a unibody with a margin and a snap cap assembly. You also have an angled. Is that correct?
And we have one other one, a screw receiving one-piece implant that for bar overdentures. So we've pretty well got it all.
And you actually looked at part, like you said before, you constructed this with the theme of being able to take the restorative user base
Yes.
and basically making it easy, because those products that they currently use can be used on your implants. The tolerances are available. So if I was a Noble Replace customer and
Yes.
I bought your system with a Noble Replace connection, their abutments would fit on your implants?
Absolutely, and my abutments fit on theirs.
Well, let me ask you, why would somebody out there, and there's going to be people coming in and click on this, you're a very controversial, influential member.
Moi?
Very much so. But I have to also say that you have been certainly a friend to us in Team Atlanta. You've been in our office. You also took a lot of information. I have to say, for a person with as much knowledge in the field as you have, you came and watched, observed, and actually sat in my office. I think it was the last time you actually
Did an implant was in your office.
in my office. So what I've seen you do is, when things didn't work, you make changes very quickly. I don't see that happening as easily in other companies. Why is it possible for Jerry Niznick to make changes on such a short time horizon, whereas other companies just seem to lag behind in terms of making these changes?
Well, there's no committees. I own 100% of the company. I walk around my company. I go to the design engineer. I say, change this, change that. I want it on the machine in 20 minutes. I get a prototype. I go over to the testing. I've got the knowledge and experience. And I must say, Maurice, you influenced me very much. The tapered screw vent basically came out of you rejecting everything else I brought to you.
Well, we had a good time with that.
Yes.
But I do have to say that this is really an interesting model that you've created. I think everybody in the dental world and the business world, I mean,
Yes.
you've been written up in Barron's Magazine, you've been written up in several other high-profile business magazines. I'm sure the whole implant world, both from the business and clinical side, are looking forward to seeing what this is going to create. But I think you've done a hell of a job, and it's always a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you, Maurice, and
very much.
thank you for inviting me to be interviewed here.
You're very welcome. This is Dental XP signing off here from Chicago in the AAID meeting, and really one of the big pioneers in implant dentistry, a real founding father, and as influential a member of our crew as you can get, Dr. Jerry Niznick. Thank you very much.